everybody, welcome back to Best Life and Beyond. As you know, the big grand opening of Rise of the Resistance, the newest attraction at the Disneyland Resort, opened, and I got a ton of questions about motion sickness. There is a drop in this ride and a couple things to talk about because if you don't know me, I suffer from motion sickness on a sensitivity level over 9,000. So what I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to do a little review and kind of a heads up. I'm going to do one without spoilers, and then I'm going to do one with spoilers towards the end and some visuals because I took a couple video clips and I got some visuals to show you. So if you want to skip forward to the one with visuals and some spoilers, I will put the description box. I'll put the little timestamp of like where that's going to fall on this timeline so you can skip forward. But before we do that, I'm just going to kind of tell you about like the rides that I can do and can't do so you can get an idea of like where you fall on my spectrum of motion sickness, and that'll kind of help you. I do want to say a big special shout out to all of my friends, especially Dylan from Theme Park Obsession. Right when he got off the ride, I had to sit and talk to him for like, I must have been 45 minutes trying to gather like exactly how I was going to feel. And then I'm glad I did that though, because I also have some tips and tricks for if you do suffer from motion sickness and you don't want to take Dramamine or Benadryl or anything like that. That kind of helped me through that because I was also nervous, and then I can also get panic attacks. So I hope this really helps you out. So let's start off. First of all, I cannot do Guardians of the Galaxy Tower of Terror. I can't do any spinny rides. I can do the teacups. Sometimes they can make me feel like really disoriented. Drops don't bother me too much. Like I could go on Splash Mountain, Thunder Mountain, no problem. I do not do simulator rides. So Star Tours is a big no-no for me. It literally will make me bleh. And then Smuggler's Run is doable if I sit in the front and I don't go wiggy wet like this. So I have to be steering the right and left. Because it's that motion that will trigger me to get sick. But I do not do it unless I really have to or I have a party that's like dying to go on it. So that kind of gives you that. So first of all, with this ride, there is 3 different ride systems that you're going on. I will say, without spoilers, there's a first part that it moves. Basically, you're put into a transport vehicle. I guess this isn't the biggest spoiler, but you're put into a transport vehicle and the motion that you're feeling is that you are flying to outer space. It's kind of like an up motion feeling, and it kind of rocks and rumbles a little bit. Now this, I have to say, triggered, if I had any motion sickness, that triggered it the most out of anything on this entire ride system. But I found that if I went into the corner, there's 2 little screens. You can see the front of the vehicle and the back of the vehicle. It is standing. You don't even need seatbelts. That's how mild the motion is. But it did start to kind of trigger me at some point. It's only about 2 minutes long, if my memory serves me correctly. And I just kind of breathed and tried to do the best I could to like enjoy what I was going through. Like I was like, okay, just enjoy it. It's okay. It's gonna be over. You're fine. Do feel a slight movement. It's similar to Star Tours, which like I said, I can't do, but it doesn't make you feel that feeling because it's not woo up and down. It's really just woo, you know, but you do feel it. I will say that. So that's my tips for that. The second thing that I was completely unaware of until Adam and Dylan's party had said something about it is when you're waiting to queue up to go to the second portion of the ride, you're basically in outer space, is all I'll say, and it's similar to a feeling as if you would like either stand up on an airplane, or I would say maybe similar to if you were like maybe on a boat dock, but not half. Like I can actually tolerate that. I can't even go on the Queen Mary, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a docked boat that sits in Long Beach. I can't even go on that because every once in a while I'll just whoop too much, one too many, and bleh. So that just shows you my sensitivity and how crazy it is. Then the actual trackless ride system, that's something I think is pretty, not too spoilery. That's not bad at all. You are kind of like turning, it's not too disorienting because it's wide open. It's not claustrophobic or anything like that. And then the biggest part everybody's asking about is they do know that there is a drop and a bit of a simulator for the last, I'm going to say 30, 45 seconds of the ride. That drop feels like almost, I don't know, it's not bad at all. All I can say is it's totally doable for me. I was really scared of it. People keep saying, oh, is it like Guardians of the Galaxy or Tower of Terror? It is similar to that in the way that it goes straight down. You can't really compare it to something like Thunder Mountain where you're going woo on a roller coaster, because that's a different level of degree there. You're sliding down almost versus whoo. There also is a part in the middle of the ride too that I think a lot of people didn't mention to me, where you go up just like you would the same thing, and that can tickle your stomach as well and trigger somebody who doesn't like that feeling of going straight up or straight down. But the best thing I could say without spoiling it is it's about 20 feet. So it just kind of feels like a quick little tickle. It's nothing that I couldn't handle. Like I said, I can't go on Guardians of the Galaxy or Tower of Terror. That drop is just, it's too much of that and then bouncing back up. It's not enough to trigger a motion sickness response for me. Then as far as the simulator portion of it, towards the very end after the drop, that was nothing too bad. I was able to kind of close my eyes for that brief second. There was probably like 2 or 3 seconds there. I did have to close my eyes because it felt a sensation where I went, woo, like you really, I don't know how to explain it, and I look crazy right now, but wee, that's what you did. So that kind of is the best I can do without giving you spoilers. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, please end this video now, because now I'm going to talk about spoilers and give you some visuals. Okay, congratulations, you've made it to the spoiler portion of this video. So the first thing I'm going to say is you go into a transport vehicle. I kind of said this in the beginning, but you go into a transport vehicle and basically you're getting lifted off the ground and going into outer space. You're going to go to another planet, Bakara. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Pukara or Bakara? One of the two. And it feels like you're on Star Tours a little bit. You can't really see out, and really all you're doing, this is what helped me, is you got to realize like you're on a big like kind of circle and you're just slightly turning to get into the showroom building where you're basically on a giant Star Destroyer. So I kept picturing that in my head, that like, okay, I'm not really lifting off the ground. I know it's kind of sad because you don't want to spoil, that's half the fun, is believing it. But still I was able to believe it and not feel too sick, and I was able to kind of like ground myself so I didn't get like a full-blown panic attack. It did, like I said, that if anything triggered my motion sickness in any way, it was that first part. And once you get through it, it's a cakewalk from there, in my opinion. It's really, really light movement. I mean, you can stand. It feels like you're on a subway or a bus. It's as if you know what? That's the best thing I will say. It's like standing on the Toy Story bus. Now that I think about it, without that feeling of the lift when you take off. I don't know how Disney does it and made me feel like I really like took off, but they did. And then I think not looking at the little screens in the front and the back, that really, really helped me, because you're seeing like stars and all this stuff going around like that. That's just too disorienting for me. So not looking at that really, really helped. And then knowing that it was so short, and I was like, wait, I don't know. It just kind of helped. It wasn't really rocky, so that helped. Second thing, like I had mentioned earlier, is that once you are done with that portion of the ride, they open the doors and you are on a giant Star Destroyer. Now, I had 2 worries about this. This just shows you how crazy I am. I had worried that when I looked out and saw all the stars and the stormtroopers, that I would get the triggered like from heights, because I don't like heights as well. I thought maybe I would feel that a little bit, but you don't. You're so distracted by these stormtroopers and the amazingness of that you don't feel that. And then the other thing is too, you know, when you get off an elevator, sometimes you kind of still feel like you're moving a little bit. If you're really sensitive to motion like me, you probably do. I kind of felt that when I got off. And then, you know, everybody had kind of told me like they still make it feel like you're kind of floating a little bit. But so I don't know if it was a combination of feeling like from the transport, you know, or was it that was actually, it almost felt like it was on light springs, if that makes sense. So if you're like me who can't even stand on a boat dock, you will be fine in that. It's not, and we were waiting in the Star Destroyer for quite some time before we got on the little trackless ride system. So it was nothing that wasn't doable. I mean, completely doable. You know, there was moments where like all of a sudden you'd be like, woo, but like, it was fine. It was not enough to trigger my vertigo, because I get vertigo like you wouldn't believe. Second thing is the trackless ride system. So after you are, you know, put into your little detention cell and your interrogation, they, you know, walk you in and you go into a little trackless ride vehicle. This is another thing that kind of makes you feel grounded and secure, is knowing that you literally just have a seatbelt. I think sometimes, like when you're on California Screamin', Incredicoaster, you have to put on a big old, you know, seat thing. Like that kind of triggers me a little bit too, because I'm like, oh my God, like we're really going for something here, because I can do that ride too, but I have to sit in the front. That loop kind of, woo. But it's still fun. I really do like that ride as long as I'm sitting in the front. So once you're in that ride vehicle, it's a trackless ride system. You don't know where you're gonna go. I mean, you kind of have an idea because you can see, like, you know, the room open up and you're like, okay, we're probably gonna go forward, but then you go backwards and you go right and you go left. But it is not super jerky. I would say if you have like back problems or anything like that, it was still very smooth. You can kind of anticipate the movement. Compared to Indiana Jones, it is nothing like that. That is full blown like rocking and rolling. This is so smooth and you're so caught up by the visuals. Then as far as disorientation, because that's another thing that can really trigger motion sickness. Man, I have used the word trigger a lot, but that's what we're here for. It did not do that to me. I felt like it was so open and I was so visually stunned. I was able to enjoy the show, the world I was in. I was so enamored by it. I couldn't even focus on feeling disorientation. It's not like when you're in Space Mountain, you don't know where you're going. And even if you do, you're just like, blah, it's crazy. So that was totally fine. Then let's get to when you get to, you see the giant AT-ATs or AT-ATs, and you kind of go backwards. And a lot of people didn't tell me, like, you're gonna go up. You feel like you go up at least like maybe 2 floors on an elevator is what it feels like, really quickly. And it did tickle my stomach. It was something that I would say, I guess that's what it feels like. I mean, it just was like a wee. It wasn't anything like, whoa, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Then you feel like you're, you know, it's a sickening feeling, but that did not do that to me. I felt totally fine. It was literally like a wee. And again, you know how I feel about emotion. So after that, you go through the ride a little bit more, nice and smooth. Then you go into the escape pod, and this is where everybody's asking about, how was the drop? How was that part of the simulator? A lot of people have compared it to Smuggler's Run, but I think let's first talk about the drop now that I'm trying to get ahead of myself here. So as far as that drop goes, you kind of know when it's going to happen, because if you've seen any ride-throughs, and I'll try and piece stuff in while I'm talking here, you see the other escape pods like drop. You see one drop and then you guys drop, if I'm not mistaken. I've watched so many ride-throughs and I feel like I know it by heart at this point. But the drop, like I said, it goes straight down. It feels almost as if you jumped and you just got that. If you could do jumping jellyfish over in DCA, you could definitely do this. I think jumping jellyfish is horrifying of a drop compared to, or even Goofy's Sky School is a more like wee, like it gives you way more of that feeling than that did to me. I just felt so secure in the ride vehicle. It did not hurt my back. I didn't feel any like jerkiness. It was really simple. It was almost reminiscent of, because I haven't been on Star Tours in so long, but you know, in the first part when you go down kind of like that, it was like that kind of thrill. Like I loved that feeling. I think it was just so much fun. It was just enough of a tickle in your stomach that you felt it. It was bigger than I had expected, and the videos kind of show. I can definitely say that, because a lot of again, it goes back to that first part that I was telling you on the transport to get to the Star Destroyer. All those videos don't do it justice of what you feel. What you feel and what you see are two completely different things. So I don't want to discount that, like, you will feel it. It's the same amount of tickle in your stomach, or probably a little bit less of a tickle in your stomach from Splash Mountain. That's another thing I could say. But again, you got to remember, you're comparing this to like, whew, like you're going straight down. Spencer had said, because he's gone on Guardians, he said it's like a fraction of Guardians. It's nothing like it. He said Guardians is 10 times more of a woo woo, you know? So I don't think it's something to be afraid of. I would not stop yourself from going on it, just based on that. Now, the simulator part, because you drop and then you simulate. I guess that's, you know, the best way to explain it. But when you're doing the simulator part, I was fine, because you dropped, but then we kind of went forward. Like, it's as if, here's what I felt like we did. I felt like, if this is us sitting in here, I felt like we went drop, and then we flew forward, and then we started to do this, and then we balanced out, and then we came crashing back down to bed 2. That's what I felt like. Now, I'm fine here. I'm fine here, because you go through like a Star Destroyer. We went through something, and that was fine. But then this part, when we started to kind of, it felt as if we were going forward. Before you like went through the clouds, if I'm not mistaken, it was a little bit of a blur, and I closed my eyes at this point. But that part I did not like. I don't like to feel like I'm, didn't like that. Again, this was split second. This was 0.5, like it was nothing. I literally closed my eyes, and then when I opened them, we were kind of like leveled out, falling kind of down. And we crashed down to Batu, and that was it. Now, another thing that people have asked me, and that this is what I searched for, you know, I've kept searching for answers everywhere, and I couldn't find them. When you get off that ride, do you still feel like you're like, whoa, do you feel loopy? Did I feel any of that? Nope, I didn't feel anything. I felt completely fine. I was able to walk. Now, I've gotten off of Incredicoaster multiple times, and I've been like, woo, like, oh my gosh, like, I definitely went on something that was woo, and then you're fine. You know, walk it off, kid, walk it off. But I didn't feel that with this. I felt completely fine. The last part, again, I feel like it lasted maybe 45 seconds. If I had to take a guess, it was definitely under a minute. It was nothing that I couldn't do again. I would 150% ride Rise of the Resistance 1,000 more times. Now I definitely know what to expect, and I think when you don't know what to expect, that also kind of, I mean, that sets you up for anxiety. So you have to kind of know what you're going in with, know you're going to be okay. You know, you can always exit, I think, before even getting on the simulator, but I encourage you to try it, because it was doable. If I can do it, you can do it. I will guarantee that. The things that I recommend doing, the best thing, when we went to the Orange County Fair, we went with Adam, and we were in a little mouse coaster. It was kind of like Dino Whirl over at in Walt Disney World, and it was spinning. That's my actual nightmare, is spinning that much. And Spencer always told me, he's like, if you don't like something, close your eyes. And it's the simplest thing, but closing my eyes saves my life, because you're not stimulated by it. You're not, yeah, you're feeling it, but your brain isn't like, you know, fully comprehending it. So again, if something you don't like, try to close your eyes. Definitely remember to breathe. Like, that was another thing when I was on that transport, and I started to feel a little, ooh, just for that brief second. I, you know, sprayed that spray in my mouth to go like, okay, I'm thinking about the coolness. That's, you know, it's almost like Banaka spray, you know, you're like, and then close your eyes and take a deep breath in your nose and out your mouth. You know, the more you feel that, bend your knees, take a water bottle, take a drink of water bottle. The other thing too, sometimes I always carry like a little pocket back hand sanitizer, and these ones from Bath and Body Works have a lot of smell to it. I will just, you know, put a little bit on and like smell that. And I think about the smell and I'm not really focused on what's going on around me too much. So it's those simple little things, you know, that kind of get me through it. But I will say I would ride Rise of the Resistance 100 more times than I ever would Smuggler's Run, you know, if I had to choose, if that makes any sense. Smuggler's Run is definitely a 100% simulator, something I can't do, but Rise of Resistance, I will gladly do it again and again. It was such a great experience. There's so much to look at, which really distracts you, and it's just incredible. So if you guys like this video and you want more, I can do them for other rides, but I think this is just something, it's so unknown, and it is 20 minutes just about, like, you know, the whole way through. So if you like these, let me know by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Please leave me a comment below. Maybe you can leave it for me, or you can leave it for other people. What have helped you? What are some rides that you can't do? What can you do? How do you feel about them? So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later. I wish Spence was here to say bye-bye, everybody.